Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of ENS Central's Builder Spotlight. I'm here with the crypto reporter, and joining us today is the creator of ENS Office, Amar. Amar, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, we're looking forward to hear what you have going on and hear the future plans you have with ENS Office. So just to start, if you don't mind giving us a little bit of background on who you are, and this could be, in the world of Web3 or outside of the Web3 world.
Definitely. Those are two different identities, I got to say. But yeah, so I'm Omar. I go by Amar.eth. Um, I'm a marketing technology professional. I consider myself quite crypto savvy. Um, Definitely always passionate on forward-looking technologies with a wide range. So, from robotics to biodata to AI in quite a broad sense as well. But consumer ends with the latest things that are happening with AI art and copywriting and movie making. It just really fascinates me because it makes it life for consumers so much easier, and in general just a big brain to tap into. So I'm always at the forward looking technologies, um, of which blockchain in general was one. I think even as a kid, tech always fascinated me, especially when made tangible with hardware. So, back in the days, there used to be gadgets and all that stuff, but
Mhm.
now more or less also in the evolutions of like screens and holograms. And I guess also with a focus on like interior design with technology. It kind of amazes me because I feel like that in high-end technology in people's homes is a great way to see what actually enriches them in consumer life. So I really have that consumer lens in everything that I do. Um, Furthermore, I'm from Amsterdam, married, recently became a father like 3, 4 months ago. Uh,
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I sent out actually the baby cards with her .eth name on it, just to show like friends and family, that ENS is all too real and it's coming to you. And I guess only like 3 people knew how to reply to it. So I thought that was a good measurement to
Awesome.
see like, okay, so where are we in adoption?
That's definitely the first person we've had come on who's mentioned, ENS baby cards, I know that for sure.
Yeah, that was on the background. But with the vision for it, like in the future, probably like I don't know, but her grandpa in foreign countries and stuff, they'll probably follow her social wallet and see that she's achieved something in primary elementary school through her wallet, probably, right? And they could send her like all different kinds of love or tokens or something to unlock when a certain achievement is reached. So I thought like probably I can I can envision that world. Um, but it's a good statement to just put it on a baby card and see, let everybody know, like, hey, what the hell is that .eth? How do you
Uh-huh.
say it? So that was a good thing to do. Um, I guess as a background, I have a background in marketing and sales. Also in big businesses like Twitter and Vodafone. Right now is a really exciting time to be on Twitter, not in Twitter, if you're still there with Elon and all that stuff. Um, but I think that social media just always fascinated me, and these big businesses really taught me, like, okay, how do corporates think through and what's their speed of implementing certain changes, and what are they looking at to really do that. So I learned a lot of tons of stuff in that, but also in startups and scale ups in various industries. Um, I did a lot of in real life blockchain business as well in like early 17, 18 in traceability and provenance for supply chains in coffee and in chocolate. And we actually did that one project in collaboration with the UN in Ecuador, really in field connecting farmers or producers on chain towards consumers in the West, in the UK, and here in the Netherlands. So it felt really tangible. It was really cool to do. But on the other hand, like at some point, it just dawned on me that using the right, well, we had the right mission, we had the right vision, but we didn't really have the right technology. Like those were corporates, and even the UN is a corporate and working with like private or permission blockchains and all that stuff. And at some point, I just strongly started believing that if you want to serve the world, like something public, it probably should be just Ethereum based, or like at least like a public blockchain. Um,
Mhm.
as I see, the landscape as of now, I think Ethereum is well positioned for it. with the largest volume, developers, applications. I feel like even now, like it's only like 8 years old, but it's tried and tested, and they're also quite knowledgeable what still needs to happen. And I think that the ENS is, compatible towards multi-blockchains. I think Ethereum is probably the way to go if you want to build something for a global audience. So that was one take, or one learning basically back in the days. And after that, um, well, during the ICO craze, I experienced that firsthand. And DeFi a bit less, but still sizable. And then NFTs again firsthand. And I guess with everything that happened in the space of NFTs and digital collectibles, or however you want to call it, that caught attention or went a bit mainstream, I think ENS was really the only one that I felt comfortable with to fully engage it. And I gotta say, it truly clicked actually. So then in that was early 2020. Uh, I just went full into ENS domains. That's probably like the only NFTs that I truly see the utility in, and I could look at it more from an objective point of view rather than, all the subjectivity that comes around in PFPs and stuff.
Yeah, so you mentioned, I mean, a whole lot of information there. I didn't realize, just how involved you were, within Web3 and just the tech world. It sounds like you've kind of been all over the place. What was that first step like into the world of Web3? Like, was crypto your first step, or was it working with, a certain company? What was that first step for you?
It was definitely crypto.
Okay.
Um, I gotta say, I was just learning via Twitter. Like I'm an OG Twitter user, even though that this account, like Amar tweet, is now only used for ENS. But back in the days, I was on Twitter like early on, and I was just browsing on it, and then um, I think I just one time I hit OpenSea
Mhm.
somewhere in 2020, and then I was kind of hooked. Like I saw OpenSea and I thought, oh my god, this is amazing. Um, but more on the concept of owning digital collectibles rather than the actual collectibles that I was seeing. Because I was more fascinated by the way of connecting a wallet towards a site and then really transacting with it and feeling that sense of ownership when you bought something. Um, and I did doubt for a few minutes on like the whole right click copy stuff, and as in how would you detect fraud with TFPs in real life, and who would actually care for it, whether it was validated or it was a copy and all that stuff. Um, but for me, owning something is personally valuable, and I can see that with a lot of people, with a lot of segments. Ownership is definitely one of the things that you need to be able to have. And as we grow digital, as we move more towards a digital society, and sometimes I ask people like, or people ask me like, is this Web3 or like metaverse, or they don't know how to call it, is that really happening? And I just return the questions like, I think the metaverse is, we're well on our way already. I think we're 50, 60% already there. I mean, just look at your money in the bank. It's not in the bank. It's just it's digital already. Like
Right.
a lot of of your digital goods are already in hands of like some big company, but we're already living online. Like if you would live offline, then you would see how far off the metaverse you actually are. And I think those things with connecting wallets towards Web3 websites and then be able to really transact, that was something else that was amazed me. And um, yeah, I had my doubts on it, definitely, on PFPs in particular, because NFTs really they went off with PFPs. Um, and I felt like I couldn't really objectively curate the art. It was just too much actually, and it really resembled me towards the 2017 ICO craze. I had this, it had the same elements, like founders were super important, or a founding team were really important. Like a detailed roadmap was super important. Um, Communities around it, and even though like it feels like a long time, but if communities are only like 2 months old, it's not really a long time.
Right.
A lot of people shilling, and those things were influencers, capital behind it, big names around it. It just felt a lot like the same. So I didn't engage really deep in it. even though like I still love the concept. And also like, these are NFTs now for PFPs, but could also be for, I don't know, music streams or movie making or identities or essentially anything that needs to be uniquely identifiable on chain. And yeah, so I hit OpenSea, and then at some point one evening, I went into ENS domains as a collection, and I just saw domains, and it really, really clicked. Like I immediately understood like a few things that each name is unique. Everyone will need a name, and it resembled like the whole .com bubble. And I also understood that a lot of people will make that link, um, and they already lived through that. So yeah, just one evening I was just browsing, and then I saw like one name that was Hindustan.eth. And Hindustan is really like a major name for anybody that's, I don't know, even remotely Indian. Like it's a name for like um, the biggest land that was ever available in history, I guess.
Okay.
And people really tie like major cultural significance to it. It's still being used like in a lot of books and in a lot of cultural references in movies and stuff. And I thought like, okay, so many people are going to connect to this. It's a really powerful work, and I could just buy it. So I bought it for like point 0.3 ETH, and then went, peacefully to sleep. And I still have it. I found out later, like 2 years later, that it's also pre-punk, which is nice because it's the ability to own a piece of culture, and that somebody else first thought of that. It validated something with me. Um, and I still have it. I still hope that somebody will pay good money for it. I would be happy seller. But other than that, um, the fact that you could own words and that you could do something with that was even later for me. And when I found out all the utility around it, that's when I thought, okay, I don't want to be like only a collector of ENS names, but I want to do something with it. And uh, I went online, I went on Twitter, and I still remember, like, just putting hashtag ENS and just keeping the same tweets just popping up. Like, there was no content, nothing. Like, there were only a few people really talking about it. And um, it was so undervalued. Like, everything went, all the attention within crypto in general, or like Web3, or like even bigger, like the whole on chain society, it all went to the next big thing, the next Ethereum killer, the next Bored Ape Yacht Club, the next. This is what's happening, really, or
Right.
like a revival of DeFi summer. Like people kept pushing that narrative, and ENS domains was really like nobody was talking about it, and I just couldn't believe it actually.
It's like the lonely stepchild, right?
Yeah,
Definitely different from the hype you were talking about just before with the, NFTs and the, similarities with the ICO. I mean, that's the thing, it's just way different, just like you were saying with the lack of content, like, even now, I still feel like it's really early, and we've obviously had a lot of good guests like yourself and, Sean Murray and
yeah,
Guayman,
yeah,
and Dylan Metter, like, all these people, who are here and starting to build things. It's just like, how
yeah.
do
I
we
love
get
it.
out that information, you know? How do we
Yeah.
how do we let people know about it?
Yeah, and how do we make like consumable content? Really, like I mean, we're all on Twitter, and now just made the efforts of going off Twitter and onto Instagram, and you're really like testing with formats, and that's why I really liked you guys because like putting like an interview or a podcast into like an animated sort of thing is a new format again. It's a new way of trying to educate the masses. Um, and even though that it's still early, I see a lot of people experimenting with formats. I see a lot of people working on different things. And to me, that's very validating because there's a lot of people that uh, look way beyond just, owning a few domains.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, like the potential and the ability to do things with these names is already here. It's just
Yeah.
as more people explore, what exactly that looks like. I mean, you mentioned that you thought the metaverse was like 50 to 60% of the way here already. Like, I kinda see it as, like, we don't know what that looks like. We know we have the pieces coming together, but it's
Yeah,
not like the standard vision of it, just like,
true.
websites, in the early days of websites, like, nobody probably realistically thought like, "All right, I'm gonna be able to do, like, all the scheduling for my business with a website. I'm gonna have people communicate with me. I'm gonna be able to take all the payments. I'm gonna be able to create online courses." Like, there's so many things that you can
Yeah,
do with a website, and it's
yeah.
like nobody would have thought about that at the beginning, and I feel like that's the same exact situation that we're in here.
Exactly. Like people kept also like I really like the .eth is the new .com because it just felt sexy. You know, it just felt like you could market that sentence. But it's not true. You know, it's way more than a .com. I mean, if you don't own a business or you don't own a blog, you don't need a .com, right? You don't need a
Right.
website. But everybody needs an ENS. Everybody needs a username online. And that's a fundamental difference. And then even beyond that, it's everyone will need an ENS, but I also believe that everything will need an ENS.
Yeah, I think that's that's really well said here. And I want to hit you with one more question real quick, and then I'll turn it over to the crypto reporter to talk a little bit more about ENS in general. But I know you mentioned the first ENS you purchased. What do you remember the first .eth that you actually registered?
Oh, good question. I think it was Amar.eth. Just started with my first name. I think it was a very logical thing. I advise that in my business as well. Like start with your personal names. Do that first. But I remember just being on OpenSea and then buying it off secondary, and then just kept scrolling, just finding grails or gems. And then at one point, I was like, okay, so if people are offering this here, then probably there's a registrar somewhere, right? So I went a bit deeper. And then when I found the app.ens.domains, oh my God, I don't know what happened, but days and days and days just went by. I just started to register, register, register. And of course, like a lot of things that were for future cases, but or no users, so I don't know. But at some point, um, I remember thinking like, okay, so what are names that are valuable now and are probably going to play a significant role if whole society goes more digital. And I just kept asking myself that name for that question when I was registering names, and I really came down on like landmarks and cultural and historical things and first names, last names, business names, all that stuff. Um, and but I feel like that was a different phase for me. Like it's nice to collect things and it's nice to sell things and stack ETH and all that stuff. But it's even nicer to use ENS as the step one for people to get on board in Web3. Like get your username, and then once you have your username, the whole world is being built around you. And I thought that proposition was just that's something that I see ENS vision for, of ENS office actually. I'm confused just a bit by ENS vision because I used to go as ENS vision on Twitter, back in the days. And then then there was also simultaneously ENS vision being built as intended. And I remember talking to him, was like, okay, we really need to, really need you, I need to give you this name because, Ina's vision is amazing and Zim and Furian and Zero, all amazing guys that are building this. And I can't confuse the world by people that are looking at me like I'm an ENS vision, but my ENS vision, what I envision, that was the reasoning behind it, is a world that is connected towards the chain, and the way to connect is with ENS. And I think Zim and I shared that idea. But I think it's good that all the names are now properly professionally presented by ENS Vision right now. Just a sidestep.
And see, I think you touched on something there, which is that during these interviews, what we've really noticed is a progression in the space, right? Uh, Progression in the actual individual, and you know, because like you said, it's all nice and fun to collect these names, to be able to actually go in and actually be able to register names, first names, last names, anything like that. But then you start to realize that, okay, there's a lot of building that needs to be done here for this to be really where we want it to go. So I think that that is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and I see so many initiatives. Like I feel like if you're a week off Twitter, which is very healthy. But if you're a week off Twitter, there's no real place where you can go to and see all the updates. Like a couple of months there was nothing, and right now you have ENS Academy, you have Web3 domains, you have people making threads, you have ENS Office, you have Name Maria, you have all those things, all those sources that are just accumulating and aggregating all this information because it's so valuable. And there's so many people all around the world from all different types of ages, walks of life, cultural backgrounds that identify with the utility of ENS. And I think on Twitter, it's of course not too objective because everybody's also thinking about their bags and all that stuff. But the fact that there are so many people building, and even in this huge bear market that we're in, and everything that's happening towards NFTs, the the true protocol that ENS is, that it's not a project, it's a protocol. Like you can't really harm it from an individual point of view, which is super important in today's world. Um, and it's a protocol that really works, so with a successful DAO around it. And there's so many ingredients that make ENS accessible for a lot of people, that also people have the energy to also put their time and their money in it, to start building on it, right?
I think that is very important. Like you need the community, you need the network, right? And this is the network that we're building to be able to connect different people to where they need to be so that we can progress the network itself. So I think that that's important. But you said that you started off early in around 2020 or so. So did you
Yeah,
expect it to reach the level that ENS has reached?
yeah, definitely.
Just thinking back.
Yeah, 100%. I expected it, but I didn't expect it to be this fast. That I'll be honest on. Like I dedicated my Twitter, or like a part of my life, to start pushing ENS content. I think in November 2021, so about a year ago. Um, and then in a couple of months later, there was still, I started following the right accounts, came in the right chats, and meeting people in real life too, that I connected on via Twitter. Where we're sharing the passion for ENS. Um, but even back then, and that's still beginning of this year, I didn't see like the whole digit craze coming. Um, and that really accelerated a lot of momentum for ENS. It drove a lot of energy towards this specific niche within NFTs, and NFTs within the wider Web3 space. So I think that was probably like one of the main catalyzers, uh, that just sped up adoption, and invited a lot more builders to this space. Um, yeah, because when I started a year ago, pushing something for ENS, I created a little content, like making visual posts of ENS domains, and then including like descriptions and use cases or potential use cases, sometimes being a bit like poetic-ish and trying like to boost someone's imagination with appealing visions, or appealing visuals of the future. Shilling them relentless on their relevant Twitter accounts. Zero sales, by the way. But as more people got to shilling and producing like tweetable content, I felt more comfortable that this was the next big thing, even though it was still very, very niche. And then 100% the digit craze really opened new audiences for ENS. Like the volume was amazing, was madness. Um, they registered like a couple of 4 digits before, just because there were like cultural significance to me, or like numerology, or like area codes of the places that I live in. Um, but I think that was a big pump in energy. Definitely sped up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for our viewers out there or our listeners, what do you think it was about the digits that actually allowed the liquidity to go into ENS? Because, we've, kind of gone through this for a second now, and we've been in the actual process. Like we've seen everything going on. But, for those that are new out there, what do you think it was about the digits that really made ENS pop off?
Yeah, it's just human nature, man. It's like the sense of belonging. It's like human psychology, human behavior, like in groups and out groups, being feeling part of something or being out of something is a very different feeling. And the fact that you could register numbers or buy numbers and being or like feeling part of a club, I think that was one of the first things that hit the people. Like it just identified, like people will, but we do that anyways, you know. We're social animals. We'll try to connect with each other and try to make our own gangs and stuff. And I think with the 999, that was one thing. Then the 10K and the 100K and then so on. Um, but then the second thing that came into it, it was the cross-cultural element of numbers. So, you know, seven means something in my life. It means something in your life. It means something in someone else's life too. It means something completely different in China or India versus, you know, I don't know, in the Gulf region or in Brazil. But we all identify with the same numbers and the same number combinations. And it's been so significant throughout history that we see the value of it and we continue to see it. So if you combine that with all the utility that ENS has, right? Because it's not just, I don't know, you could also sell pictures of PFPs of 1 to 10,000, for example, but it wouldn't hit the same way. Um, and then I think that having that utility, it was also really something that could only happen within ENS. Because, you know, if you look at like what happened shortly after the digit craze, some builder, and I don't remember his name, I think it's Derek, released bunches. Bunches is like a token gated chat app. You could only enter certain group chats if your wallet said that you owned a certain digit or domain that was part of a larger subset. And it was little things like that that I think inspired people also to think further on, us to think like, okay, if we can connect online first, we could actually form a community offline after that. So it's more of like in the same way that you know, like one of the big thinkers of our time, Balaji, is stating in his book, like the network state. Um, we could form communities on chain and then, you know, really have that proof of who you are and who you say you are or what you've done, like your social provenance, and then build business after that or connect after that. And I think the 999 and the 10K club are really exemplary of that. I would love to join some offline event or like something more massive initiated by the community, because I think that everybody that bought into numbers or like digits in that way, um, I think a lot of people share that vision actually.
Yeah, one of our earlier guests, Sean Murray, he actually was telling us about, I can't remember exactly what it was, something about like a open bar he held in New York
Yes.
City, which sounded really cool for digit owners. I mean, sounds exactly like the kind of stuff you're talking about. I'd never heard about the messaging app you're talking about. That sounds pretty cool though.
Yeah, man. It's called Bunches. Like I think it's the website's like on Bunches or something, but that's really cool. Yeah, you just connect your wallet. You show which domains basically directly allow you into certain group chats. So, for example, you have like I don't know the Arabic 999 or the Chinese 11K or something like that, and then you enter that chat. But it's a chat app, but you know, as we move into, you know, I don't know, 70, 80% or 90% of that metaverse vision, having access via your DNS is becoming so much bigger and it's becoming so much more valuable.
You know, I think the great thing about this space is that, like you said, you know, you have the ability to connect outside the world of ENS. And shout out Sean. Sean is a pretty good dude. I was able to meet him over in the NFT NYC. And yeah, we were able to collaborate outside of this space, you know. I think
Yeah.
that you know, you said something crazy about the, you know, just the network state, and I think that's really what we are doing with ENS in particular. You know, as far as the amount of
I,
users, the amount of people who are actually passionate about it, I think that that's just only going to grow in the future.
yeah, I think that like just to continue on that, I think um, you know, connecting on chain and then, you know, further in the concept of like social wallets. removed from like following real people, paparazzi and stuff like celebrities or people in communities that you adore, even your local community at home, towards like getting everybody on social media and having like social accounts, and social accounts becoming tremendously valuable and whole new business models, coming out of that. I think we're moving like ultimately towards like social wallets in like um it reveals who you are or what you want to show. It reveals like what your actions were, where you put your money, right? Not only what you post or what you say that you're going to do. It actually shows you like the transactional element, like the money element. I think that's super important. And then beyond it, it's like because ENS names are usernames that are tradable across the internet and into the metaverse and stuff, which never was a possibility until now. I think also that some ENS names have the ability um, uh, to become sort of like I don't know how to put it, like heritage or legacy, like the same way that you would buy a house of some celebrity that did X, Y, and Z in that, and the value of that house just bumps up X20 because somebody once owned it. I think certain ENS names have that capacity as well. I think that is how our I think that's about to change for society, digital society.
You mentioned the transaction history, and it just kinda clicked in my head. I'm not sure if you've ever spent any time doing it, but on, the Venmo app, there's actually, like, a feed of basically, like, your contacts and people you know. Obviously, it doesn't say, like, the dollar amount or anything like that, but just, like, the descriptions of what the payments were for. Um, a lot of people will do, like, little jokes and emojis and things like that. I mean, it's honestly kinda similar to that in a way. I mean, I've had friends who spend, hours scrolling through and looking at what people do just as it being
It's
like an
so
entertaining thing. I mean,
like definitely, like the primary use case, like the easiest use case of ENS is like, payments or like sending and receiving all kinds of crypto. And then, you really have to highlight or stress like all kinds of crypto and not just Ethereum. Um, but it's interacting too, like the same way that you just scroll towards like the Venmo transaction history of family and friends. Um, I think that people will become more conscious on their presence on chain, like especially because everything is more or less traceable, albeit pseudonymous. It's instead of in big databases of big companies, you now become more conscious on your actions and how you want to be perceived. Um, and I think that just the fact that it's not in company databases anymore, but it's now on chain and publicly accessible, that changes your actions too. And I think that ENS further into like what in domains, so to say, I think it plays heavy into status games, like which is now it's all too common within groups of people. Like we love to compete, we love to show up, we love to compare ourselves until we die, basically. I don't agree with it, but it's just today's time. Like I won't be naive in not tapping into the opportunity for it. I think also, I remember Punk 6529 wrote extensively on this, on like, consumerism and um, the ability just to not compare yourself and where does that state you in certain categories. Like maybe I'm jibber jabbing a bit too much, but I think that uh, just the fact that your actions become transparent and you get this sort of social provenance, it makes it more real. And um, that is fundamentally different than following people on Instagram.
I think you touched on a lot of great points there. Now I'm not sure about you guys, but I don't use Venmo, but that sounds actually I'm not sure how I feel about that,
Yeah,
especially
I'm
using
not. Same for me, but I don't use it as well. But we don't even have it here in the Netherlands. Like people don't use that. But
no,
that's a crazy feature.
no, and yeah, see eggplant emojis and stuff like that. That would be crazy. But you did touch on something too, which is I think that we're in this space and you're right. It's a public ledger, and I think that's another thing that we have to be aware of, the fact that there is so much transparency in Web3, it actually maybe enforces certain actions and, it actually takes away from the fact that, you know, certain people may be considered bad actors in the space because of things that they have done on chain, you know? And I think that
Yeah.
we're going to see a lot more of that. It forces good behavior. It enforces good behavior because you're on chain now. But
Yeah, it's put your money where your mouth is.
yeah, yeah, I agree. But if anything, I know we're running on time, but we were able to look into the project of ENS Office, and we think that it is something that has a lot of potential, a lot of potential. So can you go into, the reason why you started, ENS Office and, just how it came about?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, so I decided to about a year ago. I decided to be more of an ENS advocate. Just produce content or tweet my thoughts, but just be more vocal about ENS. Um, and the goal that I always had personally, and now for ENS Office as well, is just onboard normal people that have nothing to do with Web3 yet into our space. To be really short and frank. And I think that I'd like to think that ENS Office contributes to closing the gap between people and businesses that are even remotely interested in Web3 or Meta or blockchain, just the whole space. And I found that just helping them secure their ENS names and educating them as a follow up really gets people here. And I gifted a lot of ENS names throughout the years, like for people's birthday parties. They give like I don't know 50 euros or a bottle of wine. I just give them their ENS name, and then they look at it, from their wallet, and I installed it from their primary wallet, and then they're like, okay, what can I do with it? And that's something that everybody will ask themselves if they get their first ENS name or they register their own name. And then I touched on this before, but the world is being built around you. Like every dApp with ENS integration, every brand with ENS, every platform that integrates with ENS, you instantly have access to all those products and services. And I saw Alicia from the ENS team mentioning like Web3 is all the roads and ENS is your car. And I 100% salute that statement.
That definitely sounds really cool. I checked out the website as well, and I noticed, I think it was a couple of testimonials maybe from some of your clients. Is there any good success stories or anything that you have, thus far, with doing this?
Yeah, there's a few people that became interested and actually went for like the second approach. So maybe good to highlight that first. So first of all, with ENS Office, I want to create like a soft landing page for everyone that's interested in ENS. So we're going to give you 100% of the information, like to do it yourself. Like I want everyone to know that you can fully do it yourself. Like I'm not hiding anything there. You can just go to app.ens.domains or ENS Vision or watch a YouTube video on how to MetaMask or Rainbow Wallet, and you're there. Like it's not hard, and we shouldn't make it harder. Like definitely not us. Like people that are more deeper involved into ENS. Um, uh, we should like reveal the magic up front and not charge something for it and then tell later how easy it was. So um, uh, for ENS Office, you can learn anything with ENS with curated content linking to web3domains.com and ENS Academy and several highlights from ENS Twitter. But at the same time, I also believe that there's a huge market for people who want to be inspired and that then just really frank, that just give somebody cash and make it happen, like either to secure their names for private or just not to worry about it, but still wanting to be part of that future. Um, and these people, this audience really needs like a handing, like a guide, they need a guiding hand in the world of crypto. And that's the second thing that I want to achieve with ENS Office. So besides helping ENS, and being like this aggregate platform for it. I think ENS is the first step for everybody in Web3. And I think guiding people and businesses in how to use wallets, hardware wallets, multi-sigs, how to navigate on Web3 is super crucial and needs to be widely known. Like we need to make that happen. So if you would ask me, like, how do you want to be known for, like, in this space? Like, I want to be known for crypto onboarding, like ideally masses, with ENS offices all around the world and each benefiting from getting people on chain. But I saw that a couple of my clients went for this, like the second way, like um, they kind of believed on the ENS vision, and they understood that was an online username that they could take anywhere across the internet and into the metaverse. Um, but at the same time, they didn't want to make like that much of an effort, and they were happy to invest something. So I gave them their name, and then one thing happens, and you did 2 weeks later, you're getting spammed with all these names. Hey man, can you check if this name is available? Can you check if this name is available? My brother asked me for this name, that stuff. And one thing they're the same level as you, and they're doing the same thing. And it was almost like contagious. And I saw that 2 times. Maybe the third one now is actually happening, but it kind of inspired me to do it better and tailor more services to it.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you just said about ENS as like an onboarding process into Web3. I mean, it's almost like you're jumping into sending emails before getting an email address, or
Yeah,
posting tweets before making a username, like playing a video game without having a name. Like that's basically what everybody's doing right now, who hasn't stepped into ENS and secured their .eth yet. So that makes a ton of sense what you're saying.
yeah, and I really want to show like um, don't cover all the things up. Like, don't make it harder than it is. Like, don't say that like MetaMask is hard to install or you can't learn anything from YouTube, but you can, and you should show that as well. Like, if you don't make money on that, then that's that. But you're helping the whole industry here, and uh, just recognize them. There's more people that we're really small, right? Within ENS, we're really small, but crypto in general is still really small. There's so much more people out there that need their ENS names for their private life, for their business life, for their devices, for everything. And uh, if we can just inspire them, with consumable content, and with you know a tailored program or like services that are accessible, we can actually contribute. And me as a non-coder, a non-tech guy that likes tech, um, for me that is the way to contribute in this space.
Well said. Well said. And we need more people like you, man. We definitely need more people like you. So one thing we did want to ask before, our closing question to us is if you could add, one more thing to your project to make it what you envisioned, what would it be?
I think it sounds a bit off non-digital, but I'd love to have like physical offices that inspire people to go on chain. So like um actually like full-fledged showrooms, I don't know, in a mall or something or in multiple malls, but that enable like that digital experience. It's not the sexiest word, but that physical slash digital experience where people could help you on site, like the same way that the bank just helps you if you need a bank account or something. So you walk in physically and you enter like an on cyber inspired place that makes virtual reality all too real. um, I just want to add like the physical touch towards NFTs because I think that the mass audience um, that we need to get here in our space, they live there, man. They don't live online, they live there. And we need to make this stuff more tangible. So if I could add anything to my business, um, and it's not a wise business move to make right now, right? To get some real estate and then fancy it up and stuff like that. But I think that would be just for local areas. It would be amazing, amazing to inspire people.
That definitely sounds like a really cool idea. I mean, you'd have to think there's gonna be some sort of segment into, the physical world in the future. Obviously, we don't know how long that's gonna be, but there's just so many possibilities with what can be created with ENS. It's like, what will happen? We don't know, but there's gonna be some sort of crossover into the
Yeah.
physical world at some point.
Yeah.
So definitely have some potential there for a real location. But we just have one more question for you, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. And that question is always the same for every show. If you could own any .eth, what would it be?
Yeah, I expect this one. It's gotta be my last name, man. Like my last name. Like my last name is Singh. There's a lot of people that name Singh, but I'd love to have my last name. And I think after that it would probably be my daughter's first name. Because as of now, I've given her a first and a second name, and could that combined is her .eth address that was on the baby card. Because the first name I couldn't get because the buyer didn't, or the seller wasn't responsive. But I'd love to have that one.
Singh is a top 100 surname, isn't it? It's pretty popular, right?
Super popular name. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you can get some more clients. So it sounds like that might be that might be a pricey one at some point.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds awesome. Obviously, names are, I'd say, probably the most popular choice we've had so far. I wanna say,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
it's
all
about
but
making
one.
that reputation is becoming more and more important, and I think it's gonna be so important that people won't even foresee how important reputation will be. And I think that having your first name, or having a clean ENS name for that sense, I think that's gonna be in this whole status game that we're in. I don't see that decreasing.
Yeah, I think we might have to clip that part up. I think you were spot on with that. But so, Amar, where can people follow you, man?
People can follow me on Twitter on Amar.tweet. Um, that's basically it. And for the rest, at ENS office on Instagram, Amar.eth, of course. And of course, make sure to check out ensoffice.io. Also works on ensoffice.eth if you're in a Brave browser, or with the new nice ENS redirect function that was released like 2 weeks ago. Um, ensoffice.eth.limo also converts it to IO. So that's where you can find me and us. And yeah, I love seeing those little things in the space being built that are so tremendously helpful.
It's been a pleasure, man. Um, you're invited on anytime, and just thank you for joining us. But that's our show for today, folks. Make sure to like and subscribe, and just do the damn thing.
It was a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, I love what you're doing. Um, we need more content, man. We need more consumable content to push out there. So keep doing what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Amar. Just like you said, it was great hearing everything you had to say. Love the vision that you have with the NS office, and can't wait to see it more.